In this exercise, we are going to discover rotoscoping in After Effects. We will start with this video. And we will end up with this result. So basically, rotoscoping is selecting and extracting one subject from the video and separate it from the background, and that's what we will do with this man right here. I'll go to After Effects, right click, import file. I go to exercise 13 and I'm gonna double click on the video to bring it here. Now I'm gonna drag and drop the video right here and create a composition based on this video. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna double click on the video like this and open it in its own window like this. This is very important. I make sure the playhead is at 0 seconds. This is the first frame. It's very important. And I'll go to view, resolution, and I'm gonna choose full. This is very important to make the selection of the subject, to select the subject properly. And now I'm gonna select the subject using this tool right here, the Roto Brush tool. I click, I select the tool, and now we have the brush right here. If I press Ctrl and click and drag to the right, I can make the brush bigger. If I drag to the left, I can make it smaller like this. I'm gonna make it about this size. You see the plus sign. And now when I paint with this brush on the subject, we notice there is now a selection on the subject. I'm gonna select the arm as well, like this. I'm gonna press Ctrl, click and drag a little bit to the left, make it smaller. I need a brush about this size and select the arm like this. Like this. I'm gonna press Ctrl, click, drag to the left, make it even smaller, and continue my selection. I'm gonna select the dumbbell like this. Now this arm and the dumbbell as well. Now we have our selection. But we notice we also selected this part. We don't want this part in our selection. We selected this part, this part, this part also needs to be removed, and this part needs to be removed. To remove parts of the selection, all I have to do is press Alt. Now we see a minus sign, and now we can remove this from our selection like this. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Press Alt, remove this part like this. I'm gonna add parts of the arm. This was removed. We don't want it to be removed. Press Alt. I'm gonna remove this small part. I'm gonna add a little bit here, the arm. Whenever the color of the subject and the color of the background are similar, the Roto Brush tool can get confused. That's why we need to manually select and deselect parts. I'm gonna come here, press Alt. I'm gonna deselect this part right here. Alt, deselect this part right here. This small part. Now press Alt, deselect all this like this. I'm gonna deselect this from the dumbbell. I'm gonna zoom in, press Alt, remove this like this. I'm gonna add the goatee. I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna press Ctrl, click and drag to the left, make the brush smaller, and I'm gonna select the finger right here. I'm gonna press Alt and deselect this small part. I'm gonna add this small part like this. Select the bracelet. I'm gonna press Control, make it even smaller. Alt. I'm gonna remove this like this. The first selection is the most important selection. Make sure you do it properly, it's very important. I'm gonna select this finger right here. I'm gonna select this small part like this. Press Alt, I'm gonna remove this small part like this. Alt, I'm gonna remove this. This part of the head. I'm gonna add this small part to the selection like this. Now I think we have a good selection. I'm gonna come here, Roto Brush and Refine Edge version. Make sure it's 2 selected. This is the best version of Roto Brush. And quality, I'm gonna choose best to get the best result. Now that we have our selection, we selected the version, the quality. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna press space and let After Effects calculate. Now you see the selection is following our subject. We have to wait for some time. It's almost done. You can see it here. It's almost done. And now it's done. We have our selection here. The subject is selected. I can change the view also. From this to, I can choose toggle alpha. We get this view. I can click here to go back to the same view. I can click again and see the subject separate from the background. Click again to go back, and I can click here, toggle alpha overlay to get this view. I'm gonna go back here, click one more time. Now we see the subject without the background. I'm gonna play and see the selection we have. We notice there are a few problems here in our selection. Like right here, we don't want this part. This needs to be removed. And there's some white here. I don't want any white there. And here, the dumbbell completely disappears. For some reason, it completely disappears. This needs to be fixed. There's some white that needs to be removed here. And here. And here. There's a problem with the dumbbell right here. This needs to be fixed. and there's some white here that will be removed, and the goatee completely disappeared here. We need to fix that as well. I'm gonna go back to the beginning like this. I'm gonna move the playhead slowly around here. I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna press Alt and remove this part like this. I'm gonna move the playhead slowly like this. You can do it frame by frame, but we're not gonna do that. Right here. This needs to be fixed. I'm gonna zoom in. Gonna press Alt and remove this part of the selection and this part as well. I'm gonna move the playhead slowly. The computer is a little bit slow because it's calculating at the same time. Right here we have a problem. We have a huge problem. We see the dumbbell completely disappears around here. You can press Control and use the right and left arrows to move frame by frame like this. I'm gonna come here exactly where the problem starts. I'm gonna change the view and I'm gonna select all this area. Now if I play space, it will calculate again, and in the next frames the problem will be solved. I'm gonna press space and you will see like this. Now the problem is solved. No, I need to come back a little bit like this. Right here. You can use Control and left and right arrows for more precision. Right around here, I'm gonna add this to the selection. I press space. Now it follows correctly. The problem was solved. Space. I'm gonna go back a little bit. Around here, I'm gonna remove this white area. The brush needs to be very small here. I press Alt and I'm gonna remove this part. Now I'm gonna move frame by frame, Control and right arrow. This is the next frame. I'm not gonna remove this. It's very small. Control and right arrow. Okay, this looks good. I'm gonna play space. Gonna go back a little bit here and I'm gonna remove this from the selection, Alt, and I remove this. I'm gonna add this back, Alt. I'm gonna remove this small part right here. I'm gonna press space, let it continue. Around here I need to come back right when this dumbbell appears. I need to select it. Gonna zoom in, select it like this, and now I press space, and it was corrected in the next frames. As you see, the selection was corrected. Press space. Okay, I'm gonna come back. Around here, I'm gonna press Alt and deselect all this. Now I'm gonna select the mouth, it was removed. I'm gonna move frame by frame, Control and right arrow. The next frame needs to be corrected as well, Alt. I remove this area and this also. I'm gonna select the mouth like this, Control and right arrow. Next frame, Alt, and I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna add this, remove this a little bit like this. Next frame, Alt, I'm gonna remove this. I need to add this back like this. Alt, I'm gonna remove this. Next frame is a little bit delicate. I need to do it frame by frame. Add this. Next frame, I need to remove this. Alt, select this back. Alt, I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna add it back. Next frame, I'm gonna remove this small part like this, and this small part I'm gonna add the mouth back. Next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame, and I'm moving frame by frame now. I need to select the goatee. It was deselected here. Next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame. Now it's done calculating. We see the green bar right here. I'm gonna press space to see the new selection, the correct selection. I'm gonna change the view. I'm gonna click here, go back and play. Around here, there's some white that needs to be removed here. I'm gonna correct it exactly at this frame. Problem starts. I'm gonna zoom in like this. The brush needs to be very small. I'm gonna change the view like this, press Alt and remove this part from the selection like this. Gonna add this small part of the arm and this small part of the head. Alt, I'm gonna remove this white area. I have to reselect the mouth, the nose and the goatee one more time like this. And now I'm gonna move frame by frame. Control and right arrow. Next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame. Now we have a problem here. I'm going back. This needs to be removed. Alt, and I remove it like this. Now, next frame, next frame, next frame. I think the problem was corrected. I'm gonna press space to calculate one more time. I'm gonna change the view. Now it's done. I'm gonna change the view and watch it one more time. Around here, I'm gonna remove this small white area. I'm gonna press Alt. I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna change the view back, and I'm gonna select the goatee like this. I'm gonna select this small area like this. And now I'm gonna calculate one more time, press space. And now it's done. I'm gonna change the view and see the selection. It's almost perfect. I'm satisfied with this selection. I'm gonna come here, Roto Brush Matte, and I'm gonna change the feather from 5 to 10, just to make it softer on the edges like this. And once we are done with the Roto Brush tool, once our subject is selected, now I can click on freeze. I click here, I wait for some time. And now the freezing is done. I'm gonna close this window. We no longer need it, and go back to composition. And now we have our subject here without the background. And here you can see in the effects control, you can see Roto Brush and Refine Edge. You can deactivate it and see the background activated, and now the subject is separate. I'm gonna select the video, Control D to duplicate it, go to the one in the bottom, and I'm gonna select the effect and completely delete it like this. I'm gonna go to horizontal type tool, click, I'm gonna write the word workout, I select it like this. I'm gonna choose the font Arial, font style black, size 300, and space I'm gonna put 50 between the letters like this. Paragraph, I'll make sure it's centered. Back to selection tool, and I'm gonna put it in the middle. I'm gonna press Control and snap it in the middle like this. Leave it right here. And now I'm gonna put this text layer between the two videos, and we get this effect. Now the word is between the subject and the background, just like this. I'm gonna apply an effect to the word. I'm gonna look for drop shadow under perspective. I'm gonna drag and drop this effect on the text like this. I'm gonna come here, increase the distance to, let's try 20. You can change the direction. I'm gonna leave it like this. And softness, I'm gonna increase it to 10. I think this looks good. Opacity, I'm gonna leave it at 50. And color black, of course. Now we get this result. I'm gonna animate the text. I'm gonna put the playhead at 2 seconds. Text selected. I'm gonna press P, bring the position, click on the stopwatch. I'm gonna go back to 1 second. And I'm gonna take the text from here to here. I press Shift to keep it on the same line. I'll leave it here. And now we have this animation. I think it's a little bit too fast. I'm gonna move this keyframe right here. Now I think it looks better. I'm gonna select both keyframes, F9 to easy ease. I'll go to graph editor. I'm gonna select this point and drag this handle to the left. I'm gonna play now. I think this looks good. I'm gonna leave the graph editor. I'm gonna select the video in the bottom, and I'm gonna apply an effect called photo filter under color correction. I select the effect and drag and drop like this. I'm gonna choose a color here. I'm gonna choose blue. This is not the blue I want. I'm gonna click on custom and choose my own color. I'm gonna choose this blue right here. Click on OK. Density, I'm gonna apply 100% density, and make sure preserve luminosity is checked. Without this doesn't look good. I'm gonna make sure it's activated. Now I'm gonna put the playhead at 5 seconds right here. I'm gonna click on the stopwatch here on density. I'm gonna go back to 4 seconds right here and reduce this to 0%. Now if I play, we get this result. I'm gonna play the entire video now. The exercise now is finished. You go do the same and don't forget to save.